All right, so let's talk about blockchain. I know, it can sound super complicated, right? But what if I told you it's actually pretty simple to understand once you break it down? Today, we're going to do just that. We're going to tackle the four main types of blockchain using analogies you already get. Think public parks and private malls. Let's dive in.
You heard that right. Some blockchains are like wide-open public parks, and others, well, they're more like exclusive private clubs. Now, how does that even make sense? Believe it or not, this one little idea is the key to unlocking the entire thing. It really all boils down to a single question. Who's allowed in? But before we get to that, let's make sure we're all on the same page with the absolute basics.
Okay, so at its core, what is a blockchain? Just think of it as a super secure, transparent way to store information. It's like a digital notebook that's almost impossible to tamper with. But, and this is the important part, how that notebook is managed and who gets to write in it, that's where things get really, really interesting. And that brings us right to our very first type. So let's start with the big one, the one most people have heard of, the public blockchain. This is kind of the OG, the original idea of what a blockchain was supposed to be. Totally open, totally for everyone.
And here's where our park analogy comes in. Picture it, a huge public park. Anyone can just walk in, right? You can wander around, see what's happening. You can even decide to plant a tree if you want. In the blockchain world, walking around is just looking at all the transactions. They're all out in the open. And planting a tree? That's like adding your own transaction to the ledger. It's a real community space, built for everybody.
The key takeaway here is that public blockchains are permissionless. That's a fancy way of saying you don't need an invitation. No one can stop you from joining. Everything is completely transparent. Every transaction is right there for the world to see. And yeah, you've definitely heard of the biggest examples, Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're the massive, sprawling, always busy public parks of the crypto universe.
Okay, so a public park is great, but what if you're dealing with information you don't want everyone to see? What if you need a bit more control, a lot more privacy? Well, that's where our next type comes into play, the private blockchain.
So, forget the park for a second. Now, I want you to imagine a private office building. You can't just stroll in off the street, right? There's a front desk, security guards, you probably need a key card to even get through the door. The whole thing is controlled by one single company. That's the vibe here.
And this setup is perfect for a business. Think about it. Because only a handful of trusted computers are in charge of verifying everything, it's way, way faster than a public blockchain. It's fantastic for things like managing a company's internal data or tracking a supply chain, all without letting your competitors see what you're up to.
All right, so we've got the wide-open park for everyone and the lockdown office for just one company. But what about the space in between? What happens when a group of organizations wants to work together? Well, that leads us straight to our third type, the consortium blockchain.
For this one, think of a shared apartment building. It's not just one person's house, so it's not totally private, but it's also not a public park where anyone can crash. Instead, you've got a small group of owners, maybe a few different companies, who manage the place together. They're the ones who decide the rules, they're the ones who hand out the keys.
So, a consortium blockchain, you might also hear it called a federated blockchain, is all about collaboration but with control. The perfect example? A bunch of banks. They all need to share information and trust each other's transactions, but there's no way they want the general public peeking in. So, they team up, they form a consortium, and they share the responsibility and the cost of running the whole show.
And that brings us to our fourth and final type. This is the one that tries to have its cake and eat it too, taking the best bits from both the public and private worlds. Okay, now let's go to the mall. Think about it. Anyone can walk into the main mall area, right? That part's public. You can look at the shops, see the crowds. That's like the public part of this blockchain. But try walking into the back office of a store or the mall security room. No way. Those areas are restricted, they're private, and that's exactly how a hybrid blockchain works.
This hybrid model is incredibly flexible. A great example is something like a healthcare system. They could make general research data public for everyone to see and learn from, but keep your personal medical records locked down tight on a private layer. You get transparency where it makes sense, and rock-solid privacy where it's absolutely critical. It really is the best of both worlds.
Whew, okay. So, we've gone through four totally different models: the park, the office, the apartment, and the mall. Let's line them all up side by side and make this super clear.
And here it is. It's really that simple. You've got the public blockchain, that's the park, open to everyone. The private blockchain, the office, run by one boss. The consortium, our shared apartment, managed by a select group of owners. And finally, the hybrid, the shopping mall, with both public spaces and private rooms. See?
Each one is just a different tool for a different job.
So there you have it, the 4 main flavors of blockchain, broken down into parks, offices, apartments, and malls. Now you know. But it leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? Which one of these is going to be the future? Will it be the totally open, decentralized dream of the public park, or the super fast efficiency of the private office? Maybe the teamwork of the shared apartment, or the do-it-all flexibility of the hybrid mall? Honestly, that future is being written right now. Thanks for tuning in.